How's it going, everybody? Your Statistics here, and today we are looking back at Borderlands The Pre-Sequel. An amazing game. Absolutely love this game, and I'm so excited to talk about it here today. And we just did a playthrough of it on my channel. You can absolutely go over and watch that. Get subbed if you like Pre-Sequel, because there's content for it. And honestly, me and my friends have played through it so many times that I'm sure there'll probably be another playthrough at some point in the future. And I doubt this is the last of me talking about it. So, if you enjoyed Borderlands content, we got plenty of it coming, and get subbed and press that like button if you enjoy the video. Let's get into it. Now, normally with a Borderlands, right, the biggest thing is usually not the story. Well, with Borderlands The Pre-Sequel, that's not the case. The story is one of its strongest points, and it's pretty much the biggest reason why I've come back to it so many times, why I've revisited it so many times. The story, the characters, the side quests. I mean, the gameplay is still Borderlands 2 gameplay, just with lacking endgame, which we'll get to later. But for now, let's just stick with the story. Now, why does Borderlands The Pre-Sequel's story stand out from all the others and make it, in my opinion, so great compared to them? And the reason is because when you played through Borderlands 2, the story was just like any other Borderlands, where there really wasn't much of a story. You just knew you needed to kill somebody, and that was pretty much that. With Borderlands The Pre-Sequel, it basically took Borderlands 2 and then made an entire game of explaining why Borderlands 2 even happened to begin with. So it basically gave Borderlands 2 explanation and reason to exist, which is cool because it really didn't need to, because it's Borderlands, and Borderlands doesn't need a story to be successful. I mean, Borderlands 1, the beginning of the whole entire franchise, there pretty much was no story. Commandant Steele, the person you have to go kill and stuff, had like no character at all. Now, Jack in Borderlands 2 had character. He had a lot of personality. People absolutely loved him, obviously. If you played Borderlands at all, you know who Handsome Jack is, and you know he's one of the greatest video game villains of all time. This happened without Borderlands The Pre-Sequel happening at all, but we still got it, which is really cool because it gave us more Handsome Jack, and it gave us a good background on him. One of my favorite villains of all time from a video game. We got an entire game dedicated to the background of him, explaining and describing how he became the man he is in Borderlands 2, and it's so cool because there is a true character arc there, and that's why the story for Borderlands The Pre-Sequel is amazing, because it truly goes in depth with characters. Takes characters that sadly are no more. It takes so many characters that are just not anything anymore and turns them into something, but they're all dead now because you kill them in Borderlands 2. Nisha, Wilhelm, obviously Jack, Nakayama, all these characters that they give so much depth to. Nakayama is one of my favorite characters of all time in the Borderlands franchise, and once I realized after playing Borderlands The Pre-Sequel that they killed him, I was like, no! This guy was such a plot line, like such a subplot, but like should not have been a subplot. Like, his side quest in Borderlands The Pre-Sequel, if you have not played it, it literally is a prototype that leads into what is an entire plot for Tales from the Borderlands. The original Tales from the Borderlands, not the new one. And just to go off base a little, because I feel like I have to. Whenever I think about Borderlands The Pre-Sequel, I have this whole topic in my head. So I'm gonna go a little off base here and talk about how Borderlands has started to get this criticism for its story, but it's never been known for it, as I said. And where the story really lies is in the side stuff. For a lot of Borderlands games, Pre-Sequel has a really good story of itself, but I think what makes it excel is the side quests. Now, in normal other Borderlands games like Borderlands 1, 2, and 3, a lot of the story is not in the main story. It's a lot of the side stuff, the Typhon logs, the Iridian writings, the side quests, the Echo logs. All of that stuff is really what paints you a better picture of what the world truly is. When you play just the main story, all you know is that you're always one step behind this guy that you're trying to kill. That's pretty much all you know when you just play the main story. it doesn't really tell you a lot about the world. I mean, if you play Borderlands 1 and don't do any of the side quests, you'd never find out who Tannis is and why she is the way she is. But if you do the side quests, listen to all of her echo logs, you will learn what happened to her. It's a completely ignored thing in the story, but that's because that's just how Borderlands operates. They always put a lot more into the side stuff for story than the actual story, which sounds silly, but that's always how Borderlands has operated. So anyways, going back to the pre-sequel, the buck doesn't stop with the main game. The one DLC that Borderlands the Pre-Sequel had, Claptastic Voyage, they took full advantage of it and made a great story all over again in this one DLC. Sadly, 2K Australia imploded basically and was unable to continue working on it because the company basically shut down, or the studio I should say, so they basically only got this one DLC out the door, which is sad because I actually remember reading about the next DLC they were going to make and it sounded amazing. You can look it up if you want. I mean, if you really want to torture yourself like that, it did sound really, really cool, but sadly, we're never going to see it realized. But enough rambling. Going back to Claptastic Voyage, the one DLC they were able to get out the gate, the story was incredible. It explained for Borderlands 2 again. It gave more explanation, more lore, more of a rundown of why things are the way they are in Borderlands 2. Because you go from Borderlands 1, there are claptrap units all over the place, and you have the Claptrap Revolution DLC and all that, and then all of a sudden in Borderlands 2, there are no claptraps, and there wasn't really the greatest explanation until Borderlands the Pre-Sequel as to why that happened, and that was all explained in the Claptastic Voyage. It's so crazy. The amount of explanation you get and the amount of time you get with characters that you really cherished from Borderlands 2 or really didn't even know about or care that much about in Borderlands 2 that you become in love with because of the pre-sequel. They did such a great job getting you to know these characters that were previously just background characters that you had to kill, or the main character, of course, with Jack, that you had to kill. The writing for Borderlands the Pre-Sequel, I could go on and on about it. It was just really, really, really good. And the side quests are some of the funniest side quests I've ever personally experienced in the Borderlands franchise. There's a lot of really memorable ones for me, like for example the ones with Nakayama, or there's one that makes fun of like Pokemon or whatever. It's like a little Easter egg in there where like you talk to this guy Sturwin, which is obviously like a short for Steve Irwin, and like he's talking about, you know, how capturing Pokemon and all that is like whatever, you know, stuff like that. The side quests are just so funny. And then there's like a Star Wars one in there with Obi-Wan Adobe. So many great side quests in this game. And if you have not played Borderlands the Pre-Sequel, if you have avoided it up till now, I'm telling you, go pick it up somewhere. It's probably dirt cheap. Wait for a sale, it'll probably be even more dirt cheap. This game is worth your time. And I haven't even gotten to the playable characters, which are some of my favorite in the franchise. The playable characters, the people, whoever made the skill trees for these characters did an absolutely incredible job. I think Athena will forever be one of the greatest playable characters in the Borderlands franchise. I think almost everyone, if not everyone that has played Borderlands the Pre-Sequel can definitely say for sure that Athena is just the most fun. She has this shield that you get, and as you like go spec through the tree and everything, you'll be able to basically make it absorb damage, and it'll be able to absorb elements and everything, and then you'll be able to throw it and it'll hit an enemy and put all that damage back into them. But eventually you'll get it so that it can ricochet a few times, so it can go like boink 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 and just hit everyone, kill them. It's absolutely insane. And then on top of that, you're not just this titan of a character that can absorb all of the damage and then output it back into the enemies. You're also the medic. Like, she is just the most OP character. She has to be one of the most OP characters in the franchise. And if there was endgame to play in the pre-sequel, which is sad that there isn't, it's so sad because it would be my favorite Borderlands game in the franchise if there was an endgame here. If there was an endgame, it would be. Like, no question, but there's not, so it's not. Because as much as I love the story for the pre-sequel, the story is not everything to me, so my personal favorite is Borderlands 3. But anyways, yeah, Athena, she can also revive you with her shield. You can, get a perk or skill or whatever, where you throw the shield at the person and it just gets them right back up. And then you get your cooldown so low that it just comes back after like a second. It's just so crazy. She is absolutely one of the best characters you can play as in Borderlands. But it doesn't stop with Athena, because Nisha's a lot of fun with kind of like a toned down Gunzerking, because she can only dual wield with pistols or revolvers. But then she has like this aimbot where like it just like auto aims essentially during the action skill, so you're just like shooting everywhere. It's really cool. It's really, really fun. But I will admit, I have yet to do a full playthrough, I think, as Nisha. Now that I think about it, I don't think I've ever completed a playthrough, so I'm gonna have to get to that one as well. And then you can play as one of Handsome Jack's doppelgangers, also known as Timothy Lawrence, and he is an absolute blast to play as. The skill tree is so cool. It actually, so every manufacturer in Borderlands, if you've played it, you know that every manufacturer has what they call a loyalty. So like Hyperion is like, as you shoot the gun, it gets more accurate. Vladoff is just high fire rate. Maliwan is, they're always elemental, and they can have like multi-elements or whatever. And one of Jack's capstones when you play as him, I remember this vividly, is it lets you get the loyalty on your current gun from the last gun you were holding. So say you're using a Hyperion gun and then you swap to a Vladoff gun. Now you're gonna have Vladoff's high fire rate, but you're also gonna get Hyperion's boost to accuracy, which is so freaking awesome. I absolutely loved this skill, and Handsome Jack was so fun to play as. Now there was probably what is the two, I'm gonna say, worst characters that you can play as, which is Wilhelm and Claptrap. Although personally, I'd argue I don't really know, I don't remember Wilhelm. I haven't played as him since like the 360 days, so I really don't remember it. But I'd wager that I enjoyed playing as Claptrap more in this recent playthrough I did than I did back then on Wilhelm, because Claptrap isn't the greatest character to play as or anything, but at least he's entertaining to me. Personally, I wasn't that entertained with Wilhelm. He was definitely, in my opinion, the weakest link of the 6 characters you can play as in this game. Claptrap at least has the entertaining aspect of, like, you know, stupid crap happening, and, you know, getting the way Claptrap works is when you use your action skill, it's actually action packages, which you unlock while you spec through the skill tree, and basically it's going to randomly pick one of the action packages that you have. So it could make you like way inaccurate, but you also do way more damage. One where you have like a rubber ducky floaty around you and you just bounce around everywhere, but it also makes it so that bullets reflect off of you. All this stuff. So it's always like a give and take with Claptrap. That's always how it's going to be. It was an entertaining playthrough nonetheless for me. I mean, I could keep going down the line. My personal favorite character to play as in the pre-sequel is probably Aurelia. I think she was really fun. I know if you go down her red skill tree, that's more co-op oriented, because you get like this contract and then the person signs it by smacking you, and it does a bunch of buffs for both of you. But you can ignore that and kind of just go down the green and blue, and then you don't need to be co-op anymore. Like, that doesn't matter, and you can have your own buffs and all that stuff. And she's just really fun. She's all cryo, which cryo was like broken in pre-sequel. It's just probably the best element in the game. She's all about that and buffs the crap out of it, and it's so much fun. Everybody gets frozen in place when you shoot at them and use your action skill, because that's like literally the whole purpose of the action skill. Is it's just like this icicle thing that flies around and freezes people. Yeah, I could go on forever about the playable characters in this game, but I won't. I'll leave it there and just say that if there was endgame here, which I mean like real endgame, because there's really not. There's I'm forgetting the name of the giant skag thing that pops out of lava down below, but if y'all played the game, you know what I'm talking about. There's like one boss that's like a, you know, high-end boss, but there's really not that many. And then there's the raid boss, which is just the final boss you kill at the end of the game. They just turn into a raid boss, but there's really not much beyond that for endgame to go farm or anything. There's not a lot of dedicated drops in the pre-sequel. That's why it's never going to be a favorite of the franchise for me. It definitely would have been my still favorite to this day if it had that good endgame like Borderlands 3 or Borderlands 2 has. Personally, I like Borderlands 3's more. Maybe some people will put me on a stake for that, but I like what I like. One last thing is the grinder, which I hope they bring back, although there's a part of me that kind of is hesitant to say that, because before Borderlands 3 came out, me and my friends did a run through of every Borderlands and we played them all together. Super fun. When the pre-sequel hit, they could not get away from the grinder, and I would literally be like, all right, well, you guys do what you're doing. I would go make an entire meal for myself, sit down, watch an entire episode of One Piece while I eat that meal. Shout out to anybody who loves One Piece, because I'm a huge One Piece fan over here. Let me know down below. But yeah, I would do all of that, and it would be about an hour. Sometimes I'd go take a shower on top of that or something, and like it'd be like an hour, and they'd still be doing it. I'd be like, all right, guys, come on, we need to go back to playing the game. Like, so they were absolutely obsessed with the grinder, could not get enough of it, would just spend like infinite amount of time on it, and it was a little, you know, like, okay, I kind of want to play the game, but that was the game to them, I guess. But aside from that, there is a part of me that wishes the grinder would come back, because I think it's a great alternative to like what people say about like crafting and stuff. I don't like the idea of crafting in Borderlands. I think that takes away from a lot of stuff. I get that you can still have RNG in the crafting, but I think the grinder is a great recipe for trying to get something by just, you know, throwing your crap weapons or whatever in there, or whatever it is, throwing whatever in there and kind of trying to get what you want back, and the fun of, you know, the lottery of it, which is definitely what my friends were addicted to. So yeah, they probably shouldn't go to a casino. But anyways, I'm gonna end it off here. I hope y'all enjoyed the video. Let me know what you think down below. Do you love the pre-sequel? Have you played it? Did you not play it? Are you thinking about getting it now? Let me know down below, and I'll see all of you in the next one. Peace.